Hey, Seminole State family, it's Nicole from the library. Do power lines affect our health? And is researching this topic going to be easy or hard or medium easy or medium hard or hard or easy? Let's find out. Oh yeah.
We're back. Yeah. Easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, medium, hard. Hi, everyone.
There's so many options we'll find out today. Hey, Seminole State family. It is Nicole from the library. And of course, we have our awesome librarians with us. All of us, we're all awesome librarians. Wait.
We already did. Library Ross, Jason, and Nicole, and rock and roll.
And we got Roy the Lion, okay? I ain't lying.
There you go.
Yes, we are back for another Research Live on Wednesday at 4 p.m. And we are going to go through the research process. You're going to see us work with the topic, work with the resources, go to different types of resources, talk our way through the process so that any viewer, whether you're an enrolled Seminole State student or just a super fan of the library channel, which love ya, you're going to see the research process, learn it from some professionals. It's strategic exploration, so it's not cut and dry. So there's like so many different things that can happen or ways that we can go about this process. And that's why we do it over and over and over again for you. And every time you watch it, you learn. So go back and rewatch all of our research lives. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, wait, it's too soon for that. Watch this whole program and you'll see if you want to subscribe. Okay, so Jason, are you in the comments? We got anybody here from IDS course needing credit, wanting to watch us for credit?
That's right, Nicole. Nobody so far. Back to you.
Oh, okay. Back to me. Okay.
Well, we have 35,000 viewers right now. Three viewers.
So
There's 3 people.
Take a few off.
Decimal point was there. We go. Oh, great! DZAM is back.
Hey, DZAM.
All right, and DZAM was in one of my classes the other day. And Yalitza's here. And Polly. All right, let's get that going.
Awesome.
Here.
Okay.
Let's get DZAM.
Oh,
there you go. That's fine.
Oh my goodness, we're pros.
All right, Terry.
We do this once a week.
Tamara. Okay, great. Yalitzi. We got Hannah, and then DZAM. All right. There you go. Back to you, Nicole.
So you've got to suffer through the entire program, and then we'll tell you how to get you. Captive audience. Okay, enough of all that stuff. So, do power lines affect our health? Now, Ross works with one of our really awesome professors here at Seminole State. His name is Jordan Kamaker. And he has a particular assignment where he uses starts with this prompt. Now, Ross, do you want to set the scene for who is that professor and what classes you teach and how you work with him?
Yeah. So Dr. Kamaker, he's one of our paralegal professors here at the college. And this is a topic that we use a lot when we're talking about building an argument. And we're going to look at this through the lens of how we might use this in real life. In his case, he's looking at it as a lawyer. But I think this is a really great lesson for anybody building an argument for an English 1, maybe argumentative paper or a persuasive speech or something like that. And the way I always examine this is I get students a lot who come to me and they say, "There's nothing on my topic." And just the other day, I had a student tell me that there was nothing about the negative impacts of social media on teenagers. And I said, I find that impossible to believe, right? And they said, well, there's nothing. When I search, there's nothing that says it's negative. And the same thing happens here, right? We're not going to see a lot of sources that explicitly say what we're looking for, but what we're doing is we're looking for evidence in that. So as we search, keep that in mind. Whatever topic you're going into there, it may not be explicitly what you're looking for, but we're going to use some context clues and we're going to use some, of our own kind of previous knowledge and experience to make some informed choices here.
Okay. Because it would be, as a student or even as a librarian helping a student research, it would be really easy if we could just find an article that said, how power lines affect our health, and actually maybe find 5 articles like that, because a lot of times your professors are asking you to have at least 4 or 5, even maybe 6 resources for your research paper, your project. So they obviously don't want just one. I mean, that would make it so easy, but that's not how it is. And we are going to walk through that today. So, I mean, if I was power lines affect health, I would be going to Google first off the bat and probably saying like, okay, like I would search like power lines, cancer, power lines. I would try like searching some different diseases or different issues. That's where my mind goes to first. What about you, Jason?
Yeah, and as I'm looking at it, I mean, Ross, is that what we're putting like in a search engine? Do power lines, or what? How do, or what are the effects of power lines? You know what I mean? Like changing it around so you. Ooh.
Let's do a search.
How about does thunder scare librarian?
it might scare the internet or the power. That's what I'm waiting for.
So yeah, I mean, if we were going to search this in Google, right? I mean, it might be as simple as saying, "Do power lines affect our health?" But I saw something as I was typing that in there. Affect our health in what ways? I mean, health is kind of broad.
How? Yeah, how or what? Or power lines affect, or the effect of power lines, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I can see here. Oh, this is a source from the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and they have an article about power lines and the links to cancer. So if we were thinking of this as a lawyer, you know, I mean, that might seem pretty relevant, right?
And it's like, pretty recent, so it would presumably collect. It would be looking at data from like years prior to like more recent, which would be helpful if there was like advanced ways like people found to like, you know, like people realized, oh, this is how we can find out the link. You know what I mean? Because in like 1979, the study first raised concerns, blah, 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 blah. Since then, most studies, but they're saying most. Now, once again, this is a prelim info search. This is not like where we're finding necessarily our sources that we're going to submit and our works cited or literally use for our paper. We're doing a prelim info search to like clue us in as to how we can dig into the databases and other websites. But yes, just putting that caveat on that.
So that one, I mean, it came up first, so it caught my eye, of course, but like, it seems very relevant. I mean, it's asking basically the same question that we asked. Now it's specifically asking about cancer. So maybe that's important. Maybe it's not. And then even deeper than that, they're specifically looking at childhood leukemia. So if I'm looking at this as a lawyer, and not a lawyer, but you know, is that exactly the evidence that I need? Maybe it is, but what if my client was an adult that was suing? Is that transferable? I don't know yet. I don't know enough about this topic.
Now you mentioned if you were a lawyer because Jordan Kamaker, when his course it's law, right? He teaches law courses here at the college, right?
Yep, okay. They're doing paralegal research.
Guys,
he is on the show. He is on the show. There he is.
That updated branding. Get the manager on the phone.
Yeah, we have our segment producer.
Okay,
let's get him on the phone there.
So he teaches the law class, and so this is where the frame. Okay, so can you explain that a little bit further?
Yeah. So I mean, when we're looking at this article, I am looking for that evidence. You know, is there a connection? I mean, I'm hoping if I'm building my argument to say there is, like, I'm hoping I can find some evidence here, but like, I don't know yet. So as I'm looking through here, I can see like, you know, there's a lot of fear about power lines causing cancer, but then they science hasn't confirmed that. So maybe that's where I want to start focusing, right? Like, I want to see like, what is the evidence against this argument? Maybe there's really compelling reasons to you know, believe this. Like, okay, so as I'm looking at this, I can see, well, our author, he has some credentials. I don't know what those credentials are yet, but it's a good sign.
That's something we could find at the very bottom or the very top or the about link saying about. Okay, I think it was like a website on the Radiologists of America or something.
Maybe. And I'm looking through here, and he's presenting a lot of evidence, but it's a lot of 1995, 1999 research there. So looking at this from my lens now, I don't know if it's super transferable because maybe more recent research has found connections. I don't know yet.
Right.
But
And
that's
maybe,
the kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right, Ross. I was just gonna say maybe we just chop this up. And what do you think? We'll ask the chat, all the students in the chat. Should we chop off the do? Is it just power lines health? Right? Chop. What did you laugh at? Chop off the do? Is that what
I'm just getting inspired for new.
I'm just saying, because if you or power lines health risks or something like that. The problem that we have at this stage with Google is we always want to ask it, whatever that is, AI, a question, right? But when we're doing academic research, we might want to change that around and just do the keywords. So maybe that's a different search, Ross. So maybe it's power lines health or power lines risks.
I like the idea of adding risks to it.
Because I couldn't imagine a risk on what? It's going to be a living thing, right? It's not an inanimate object. What would the risk be? Power lines on a bridge? There's no what's the risk? It would be to the people walking barefoot in the water on the bridge, right? And in this case, what do we get? So we get it's kind of strange too, because we're just making a correlation. The other one was cancer and this is cancer. So can we deduce now that cancer is a major risk? I mean, we're looking at the results that we just found here. What do you guys think in the chat? Go ahead and give us some feedback if you're watching.
Yeah,
and there's
part
the
of me
other
is
one.
I'm going into the not conspiracy theory route, but I'm thinking, okay, like power lines, like we can't literally not have them. So I feel like there's kind of there might be a predilection or a tendency or to if there is risks that they might get minimized because it's like we can't not have them. I don't know. My brain goes to that
Gotcha.
There are ways to
cell
present
phone
data. Right. I mean, you think about it.
Right.
Like you're telling me the
right.
It's not doing something. I mean,
but if we're looking at these results here in the American Cancer Society, I mean, out of all the results that we've looked at thus far, although you did look at the one below it, Ross, the NCBI, which is the National Institutes of Health, which is a .gov. The other American Cancer Society is going to be a .org. I'm seeing a correlation between power lines and cancer. However,
oh no!
What happened,
Jason? If you go missing again, we can just pop you in and be artificially here.
There we are.
Okay, so is it just you or?
I think, I was just kind of getting that. Get that guy out of there. Who's that?
Oh.
I was saying that because to your point, with the power lines being up in the air, I mean, how much does it come down? And clearly nobody wants to go anywhere near. You
can hear it. I mean, you can hear it if you go. Right. There's a trail through Seminole County. And there's parts where you're literally on a bike path, walking path underneath the power lines. You can hear them vibrating or the sizzle or the sizzling like a snare, like the Summertime Sadness song by Lana Del Rey. Ooh, worked in a musical reference. Okay, so if you can hear it, nothing's happening.
Oh, we have Jordan. There's Jordan. Let's put him in. Let's get him in there. There we go. Hey, Jordan.
We've been waiting for
full disclosure, this whole prompt, all the power lines affecting her health, we wanted to have Professor Kamaker come in here he's got his lawyer.
We're supposed to not be here. We were totally we were pulling it off, man. But thank you. Hello and welcome.
Howdy.
So good. I think that's the news. First of all, I'm going to try.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I don't know. We might have to take him out. I don't know. We're going to take him out. We're going to take him out. Well, thanks for being on the show, Jordan. We appreciate it. That's Professor Kamaker. That was fun.
But all right, I'm going to private chat him and see if he gets the message. I'll tell him that he's breaking up. Okay,
go for it. And
so we're still looking at some. We're still on the internet. We haven't even gotten into the databases yet.
No, but we do, Nicole. We have Terry is saying key terms like power lines and health. Ross, let's try that. Let's try power lines and health, which is technically going to be a Boolean operator because it has the and, but let's see. And then as we're doing that, Hannah jumps in, power line causing cancer. So that's with to Nicole's point, the assumption, based on what we already saw, the assumption that a power line could cause cancer? And then let's take a look. And Yalitza's just like straight up power lines!
That's the
Exclamation
way to
point.
do it.
So here we go. So what did we get there on the first one? Power lines and health. And
So
then
yeah, as we search this, like I'm kind of seeing two different things here. I'm seeing some of these, like, you know, the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. They're presenting information that kind of tells me that, like, there isn't really much connection. But if I scroll down, I start to see some academic research. You know, this is from the British Columbia Medical Journal.
600
They're,
miles.
you know, kind of referencing research that says there is definitely a connection. And then I saw this one down here that says there's potential concern, you know. So I'm not exactly sure still what the right answer is.
All right.
I've seen both things here, but
We're trying Jordan in here again.
Yeah.
All
right.
Jordan, you don't have YouTube up on another screen, do you? Or on your computer? You shouldn't have our YouTube channel open anywhere. I'll take you out.
That's the only
just to
time to
double-check.
not have the YouTube channel open is when you're on YouTube
You should
doing the
watch it
tube.
24/7 a day.
Yeah.
24/7 a day.
Yeah, I mean that, you know, because that could be a little.
Keep getting with burgers.
That was a sus
They're
burger.
vegan,
Jordan.
by the way.
Welcome. They're vegan burgers. Jordan,
Always.
tell us everything about law.
Burgers are okay. They should put you in a good mood. So I'll tell you several things here. First of all, not long ago, just a couple hours ago, this morning, I became grandfather for the fourth time in 6 months. And so it has been ridiculous.
I can only imagine.
This hypothetical is hypothetical, but actually based on, there are several cases that were sued on it. And some years back, in my backyard, if you guys had ever been to the Geordie area, you would look behind you and you'd see these massive power lines that look like it's, you know, the invasion from outer space. Right behind my office window. And a woman moved in 3 doors down some years back. I went to introduce myself, and she was enraged because nobody told her about the power lines. And I thought, lady, didn't you look at the house before you moved in? She moved out. Like within days, she was gone. And that was her reason. So there is stuff out there. And I thought, what an absolutely delightful hypothetical. Now, as Ross knows, when I teach the computer-assisted legal research class, there are a couple different components to it. One is, of course, the legal research. You know, when is a motion for summary judgment appropriate and thus and such and so, and that's enough to make paint peel if you're not interested in the law. But there is the non-legal research, which people must engage in to support legal claims and defenses. And this is quintessential. This is a classic example. So the case walks in the door and the guy says, I'm 45 years old. I never had cancer. I move into Kamenker's neighborhood with the massive power lines behind my window. Now I got cancer, and it's because of that. And the lawyer shrugs shoulders and says, I don't know. Go research it, Ross. Go research it, Jordan. And so it's not legal research, but it's research that demands an answer, whatever side of the equation you're on. So I have this approach, and I can't give you my template, but I can tell you what it is. It's simply a way of brainstorming with yourself. You are asking questions. So I'm not going to suggest to you guys, one question you ask is it suggestive of a statute, or suggestive of a claim or a defense or an administrative reg? That's not what you're interested in. What you do instead to make sure you frame an effective search here is you're asking, at heart, does this fact question involve certain types of professions or certain categories of people? What is their status? for example, one of the search hypotheticals I love is where someone has escaped from prison. So status might be prisoner or escapee or warden. Another one is the kid who goes into the, and I'm supremely indifferent, I must tell you, to anybody's political predilections. But in the 2016 election, I started doing this. And you know, whether the kid walks into his middle school wearing an I'm with her Hillary shirt or a MAGA cap, didn't matter. If the teacher says you can't wear that here, well, what are we talking about? You plug in little categories before you do your search. Does this involve the status of a person? Yes. Student. Does it involve an institution? Yes. It would involve public school. So I'm suggesting to you guys that when you do these searches, you ask yourself a series of questions. One, does this involve a category of people? I might, patient, for example, or resident. Does it involve an institution or a type of profession? I might put in utility company. Does it involve an instrumentality? That's a fancy way of saying a thing. But because I'm from a pop guy, I'm very sensitive about that sort of thing. Now, don't feel he's making fun of a pop guy. By the way, an aside, I know I should be. I once was a guest professor at a class where I told a joke about Georgia. And listen, the University of Georgia offered me a scholarship. I have family, relatives there. I love Georgia, but I made a joke about it. And there's one kid in the back. He's got it's like Caterpillar. If you're old enough, you know, Caterpillar hat. He's got his combat boots on. He gets up and he says, "You're making fun of Georgia. That ain't right." And he left the room. So wait, 12 years later, when his regular professor had passed away, he asked me for a letter of recommendation. And that was the one time, and I recognized his voice. I said, "You really don't want a letter of recommendation."
Well, he was still wearing the Caterpillar hat.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at what we were talking about before with what search terms would you use. So, Jordan, what we've been talking about is power lines and the health.
Instrument.
So let me share with you a couple of what the students have already said. Key terms like power lines and health.
Yep.
Hannah was talking about power line causing cancer. We did a little research and we started to see some cancer sites pop up. Power lines.
Still on the power lines.
And risks. And then DZAM came in with power lines negatively impacting health. So based on that, what would you then use? And then I'll get rid of this, Nicole, and maybe we can put the other one up. Instrumentality. What would you use then to help solve this riddle or to get the do power lines affect our health search going?
Yeah, another one would be consequences, results, consequences in terms of whatever happened in this hypothetical that you're talking about. So cancer would be the consequence, just like in the public school one, expulsion or suspension would be the consequence. And the instrumentality would be power lines. And by the way, you may have to tweak the search a couple of times if it doesn't. Instead of power lines, it might be utility lines or something. And
and you wouldn't literally put all of these ideas into one search box at one time. I mean, you could try that and see what happens. But remember, students that are watching, these are things we have to like what's it called when you like switch things out? Trial and error. You have to like try this and then switch it out and then try the next thing. Okay. So, but if anyone wants to put in like 800 keywords in a search box, let us know what you find.
Because as you get static, you get a whole lot of nothing. And
and that's why
theory for this sort of thing, and this is with legal and non-legal things, is I suggest for starters, unless you've got like something that's absolute gold, work with a triumvirate. The big three, your three best search terms. So you've got cancer, you've got power lines, and then another one might be proximity, or it might be residential.
Right, but remember, cancer, the prompt was, do power lines affect our health? We learned about cancer in this regard from those other searches that we already did. Now you can use that for this search. However, just to be clear, we did not have cancer on the list of keywords before we started, unless we had a notion, or unless somebody was already affected, which then gets more into law and then all this stuff. I liked utility as well. I didn't like electromagnetic. We put that in, and now we started.
It didn't work so good.
Okay, Jordan, like that, it's forehead down here. How do you spell triumvirate? Because I know this is not right.
Do you see forehead down on the bottom? Because the banner is covering the banner there. Oh man,
I think that's close.
Cringe.
Was fine. I mean, there are three different ways of spelling it, but that I think.
There are. Okay, well then that could be. That's the fourth one now. Okay, call Webster, call Merriam. Okay.
And take a look at some of these results, even though the information might not. Proximity. Look at all those authors. Look at these academic journals, peer-reviewed indicators here, students. Open access. You could see the little bells and whistles that we have available for you in the library database. Now we've switched, as you can see, from Google to the library databases. Ross.
Yes.
Yeah, I popped over into our library. And I just ran this search through our main library page here, using kind of those prompts that we talked about. And you'll see, like, now we're starting to see that scientific evidence that we didn't really see in those Google articles, from like the American Cancer Society.
Like real quick, Ross, and to that point, and kind of expound if you need to. But like when we were doing that, what did I call it? It was like primary info search. I forget. Anyway, the first search of information, basically on Google, the websites, just to kind of take a look around and get ideas. Those articles, it's not like they're lying or they're not usable, but they're like summarizing a wide amount of information and summarizing into this tiny little edible spot. Okay, so now we're getting into the serious research that is not so edible to the average person, you know what I mean, understanding. So this is where we get into the real details, where in the Google searches we're kind of getting a quick take. So yes, Ross pointed out this is the science, getting into the scientific evidence, and here is where we're really going to be able to dig into that.
What did we get, Ross? We used Terry's, we used power lines and health. And we made the switch.
And it actually opened it up a little bit, because this very first article would not have come up searching cancer, even though it's talking about residents' health, power lines there. So it may still be relevant, because remember what we talked about at the start of this? Largely what we're doing when we're developing an argument is piecing together this evidence that we're finding. And you're not going to find one article that says, yep, power lines cause cancer, done. You're going to find all these different research studies where they've looked at it from all these different angles. And that's how you're going to build a really compelling argument. And that's kind of like the way I look at this when we're talking about building a legal argument too. You have to have a compelling case if you're going to win.
And it's very strange too, because Jordan, maybe you can jump in. How do you prove that? Some of the articles we've already read is if you live near a power line, well, go outside your house. There's no power line there. I mean, you live near a power line, so it's very difficult. The guy in your scenario you said was 40-something years old and said, "Oh, I didn't know I had cancer. I live near a power line." How do you prove that in a court of law? Just as a quick sidebar, in 3 seconds. Ready? Go.
No.
Sorry.
Answer with the real answer. It's a great question. So you could also say, well, this one and this one and this one smoked cigarettes and they didn't get cancer. That may be so, but the incidence of people contracting these types of cancer in neighborhoods that have close proximity to the power lines, the percentage is noticeably higher in those neighborhoods as compared to the neighborhoods just 3 blocks away, which there is no proximity. So that's but remember, in my hypothetical, the person actually walked in and had contracted cancer. Although if you haven't gotten to that point yet, using the word help is beautiful.
And on that note too, what you mentioned, if you said it was Apopka, that was your neighborhood, that might be a keyword as well. Cancer risks in Apopka, power lines and cancer. Are those the same power lines as Tacoma, Washington? For example, I don't know what the output is on, but this is how you get into the research. And we've been on here for 30 minutes and I don't know if we found anything, but this is the research. Sometimes it's like this, it's going in a circle.
We would all love for it to be
exploration.
super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't be surprised that you don't find an article with any subject that doesn't literally just answer the question of your thesis.
Sorry, Nicole, you just got blocked out by DZM's question.
I got my forehead.
I don't even think we could see it. You got to go to your right. Go to your right. We might be able to get you in there. DZM asks.
Petty Valley.
Visit, but we don't stay there long.
Okay, Ross, when you're doing Boolean searching here, why do you capitalize the and? And are there search modifiers or systems that help with signifying key terms and disregarding information that work with the Seminole State Library searches? Boom, DZAM.
Wow.
DZAM!
So the quick answer on the and is it just kind of helps me and the search system know that we're separating those ideas. And that's the way we talk to these search systems is in main ideas. So like Jordan was saying, like we want to figure out what those main points that we care about are, and then we're going to link them together with that word and. Sometimes it doesn't matter if it's capitalized. I do it out of habit, but it's kind of good practice to do. And then search modifiers or systems.
I'd say you'd want to do the or the not, right? If you're doing Boolean DZAM. So say the example I always use, and I'm going to get rid of this just so we can see Nicole again. Is Vampire Weekend is a band. Vampire Bats are a thing. So if I wanted Vampire and Weekend, not Bats, it would get rid of some of that. Now that's just one example. You can mix and match however you want, but I would recommend doing the advanced search. And Ross, maybe we can take a peek and see that. So you don't have to always spell it out, DZAM. You can go into the advanced search, and there's the Boolean operator there. There's the drop down there.
Yeah,
and this is consistent with other databases as well. When you transfer to UCF or FSU or UF, any of those, you're going to keep seeing these advanced searches and so on and so on. So
did you say that you would be okay with people transferring to UF?
I didn't. I wanted to be equitable and inclusive, Nicole.
That's awesome.
USF. Hey, look, if you want to transfer to UF, that's your own problem. Okay, this is my personal feedback.
Petty Valley.
The University of Florida was getting urged. Oh my gosh!
You see the tomahawk,
There's only one school. There's only one school.
Yeah, that's how it is.
We're getting sidebarred here. We're getting sidebarred.
Yes, sidebar. Okay, back to the.
So a couple of things you guys are talking about going, whether you go to UF or FSU or whatever, but I want my students to know that when you graduate, if you are not moving on, I don't mean that in some metaphysical sense. If you're not moving on to another university or college, you still can get access to these academic databases. Not as many of them, but join your public library, and they usually have some of this stuff. And it's a delight. Or if you really need to do some heavy research, go to a university or college and take a one class. Then you've got access for for the term. But you should never ever be without a public library membership. That's absurd. And then you get the Libby app so that you can actually easily do this. They're on your phone.
And we actually have resources here at Seminole State that you can use the Libby app with. Overdrive, so leisure, mostly leisure and ebooks and audiobooks and things like that. So cool. Okay, well, I don't know. Do we need to wrap anything up before we wrap it up?
Well, just on Jordan's point, if it's a public library or not, if it's a major university, you're transferring or not, you're always going to be doing this research. You're always going to be thinking of these things and what are the keywords and how am I finding what I'm looking for? We just had 4 different people on here with master's degrees and higher trying to find information about power lines and does it affect this? And then we got new information of Popka. And I mean, there's so much stuff to it. But again, act on your information need. What do I need to find? How am I going to find it? If it's putting a question in, if it's taking some of that off and getting rid of the question and just doing those firm, cold keywords, try it out because it's up to you. Research as strategic exploration is going to be up to you. I see some people in the chat who need some credit. Let me drop the link in the chat. This will work for, I don't know, the next 72 hours, 42 hours, something like that.
Yeah, you could also text us if somehow this is easier, but if you're here, and
I can give them my text if you want me to.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Well, Jordan, we didn't get to really go way deep into this today, but it looks to me like from what we've looked at today that there is a connection between power lines, that power lines do affect our health.
There's definitely evidence.
That's what I'm sniffing out.
There is evidence, and then there are also experts who will go to the contrary. If I could leave a few parting thoughts for y'all.
Yes, please.
One is to make sure as you're setting up your search, you don't throw too many ideas into your initial search. I like your best 3, but to get to your best 3, you've got to pick maybe 8 or 10, and you do that by brainstorming and just putting them down on paper. And so you're asking, does this involve categories of people? Does it involve employment? Does it involve professions? Does it involve status? Does it involve institutions? What actions are involved? What are the consequences or the results? Y'all following me on that?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Then you see your best 3, you throw them in there and you tweak them.
Yeah, I love that advice. I think I'm going to steal that.
Creatively borrow it. Creatively borrow it, Ross. And there you go. And congratulations once again to Jordan, a grandfather. Congrats.
We were wondering if the baby would make a cameo on our show, but that's fine. Next time.
I didn't have it.
Name it Jason. Name it Jason, Nicole, and Ross.
David, Jason, Nicole. That's perfect.
I will say though, because one of the terms in the law, of course, is sometimes people are grandfathered in, with an exception under the law, and so I guess he's been grandfathered in because he's got me in his background.
Awesome, Jordan. We're going to wrap it up here. Hannah, major takeaway from today. Hannah says being careful not to make assumptions when choosing keywords. Good point. Terry chimes in, paying attention to data publication and how to search for evidence on databases online. And Yalitza wrap us up with be descriptive with words. Yay! Yay! Thank you all for watching. This has been Research Rally. Bye!
Bye!